Good day, sir. I am Earl Sebastian Uy, and today I'm going to be talking about 25 articles from Law on Contracts. So an example of this article would be, let's say A. He was able to convince B to buy his car because actually A was scared na it would get confiscated. Okay, he was not able to pay the car naman. Now, B has the possession of the car na. It's with him na. And while his car was parked in his house, let's say it got in a very grabbing accident na the car is really guba na jud, like beyond repair. B, being a buyer in bad faith, has to compensate Toyota na either he should pay the amount of A's loan to them, A's utang to Toyota, or he should pay diretso the monetary value of the car. So, in this article, an example of this would be, let's say A. He sold the land of B, even though he was not authorized to sell B's land. So, what B can do here is, he can annul the sale since it is unenforceable. But, what B can also do in this situation is, he can collect the money of the land. Because in the first place, it is his land. So this article states na there is no contract unless these three are present. So first, the consent of both parties. So, of course, both of the parties should agree with each other for a contract to exist. Second, there must be an object. So this object, it should be something you can see, something you can feel. Example, land or car, like that. Third is the cause of the obligation. So there must be an established cause of obligation, like there must be a performance of an obligation, why a party will really assume an obligation in the first place. So an example of this article would be, let's say A is asking B, do you wanna buy my car for 500k? Then B will say, yes, okay, I wanna buy your car for 500k. So now, the offer of A to sell his car to B is certain. And now, the acceptance of B to buy the car from A is absolute. So in this article, acceptance may be expressed or implied. So what do you mean by express? Express means you said it verbally or in writing. What is implied? Implied is like you are showing that you accepted, you are showing it, but you didn't directly express it. So it's implicit. So, what is misrepresentation? Misrepresentation is an action or an offense of giving false or misleading account on the nature of something. So, let me give an example of this article. Let's say A's car. A's car is worth 500k. So B sold A's car to C for only 400k because B misrepresented the car of A, thinking it was only worth 400k. So in this situation, A cannot ask for an annulment of the sale unless there is substantial evidence that B was conniving with C, like the misrepresentation was on purpose ba? So this article is quite self-explanatory. So if the misrepresentation was not intentional, but it was made in good faith, then it is merely an error. So an example of this article is, let's say A. He obliged himself to deliver B 500 kilos of rice. Then let's say the price per kilo is 500 pesos. When B got the deliveries, he found out that A only delivered 300 kilos of rice, saying na, oh, the price per kilo has now reached 600. That's why I only delivered 300. So in this situation, this is incidental fraud. So in this case, A has to pay damages. So in this article, there are two simulations of a contract. First is an absolute simulation, and the other is relative simulation. So what is absolute simulation? Example, there is a sale in, let's say, a house. Then, let's say that the price is being paid already, but actually, in fact, the price was not paid. So the sale is considered fictitious. Next, the relative simulation. So what is relative simulation? Example, a donor will donate a property to A, but instead of executing a deed of donation, he executed a deed of sale to hide the fact that the donor was actually donating to A. So in this article, an example would be, let's say A. A has a loan to B. He owes money to B. Then, when he found out that B was already enforcing credit, imposing interest already on his loan because he was late, then A, what he did, he pretended that he sold a land to C. So he has like a land title, like that. But in reality, he did not receive a single penny, a single centavo, like that. So the contract in this situation, the land title, it is merely fictitious and it is absolutely simulated, which makes it void. So an example of this article would be, let's say A, he agreed na he will pautang ni B for, let's say, 500k. But when both of them signed the contracts stated na A was selling a house to B. But A, thinking na that contract was the contract of his loan, he got ilad. So what A can do here is he can ask for a reformation of the instrument, which means he can correct their agreement with B, since B was the one acting fraudulently to A. So this next article is actually quite related to the previous article. Example of this article is, let's say A, he was able to convince his friend na si B na he will borrow a land title, and so that A will be able to pretend na he owns a land. But the truth is, he just wanted to obtain an utang na he owes to C. So now that A has the land title of B na, he will take pledge of that land and use it as a security to his loan ni C. So if B finds out about this nga his property is now pledged to security of an utang, he can be able to take action and ask for a reformation. So in this article, none of the parties are responsible for the mistake here. So the ignorance, the bad faith, negligence, like that, lack of skill, those are all, it must be the mistake of the third person. So in this situation, either party can ask for a reformation. So in this article, it's quite self-explanatory. So let's say two parties agree na they will mortgage a property, a land property, or any property, any instrument. But that instrument, both of them didn't know na nahalin na di ay the property. So it is only right na both of them will just reform, will do a reformation of the agreement. So this next article, it basically means this donation, wills, and if the agreement is void, they cannot be reformed. So both donation and wills, of course, you cannot reform them because it is out of your kindness, like your freedom. It's your freedom. It's like it's an act of liberality on your part. Then, if the agreement is void, it's useless. The reformation is very useless because if you do a reformation, a new instrument will still be void because in the first place, the true intention of the agreement was void. So, yeah, there's no reformation needed. An example of this article is A. A is a buyer and B is a seller of jewelry. Now A bought jewelry from B under credit. After how many weeks passed, B found out that A was actually a buyer in bad faith. He was actually a fraud. So, what B can do in this situation is he can sue A and ask for the jewelry back, or if A cannot return the jewelry for whatever reason, A has to pay the monetary value of the jewelry to B. In this article, if a contract entered into by an absentee and it is approved by the court, the rescission cannot take place. It is invalid because the contract is actually valid. Even though there are damages, the rescission will not take place. So this article shows the following instances if a contract is voidable or annullable. So the first is if the one signing the contract is incapable. So incapable means like you're a minor or you're a person who has special needs. And other instance is, of course, with bad intentions like fraud or like you were threatened while you were signing that contract. That's annullable or voidable also. So this article is actually connected to the previous article, which was Article 1390. So, in this Article 1391, it states na the action of an annulment is within 4 years. So, it also shows in this article na when the annulment will take place, like the period. So, the instance na one of them signing a contract is incapable, a minor or a person in special needs. So the time the guardianship is stopped, that is the period of the annulment. And in cases for like the bad intentions, like the intimidation, fraud, mistakes, so the time na the discovery of the crime, that is when the annulment will take place. So what is ratification? It is to cure the defect of the lack of authority in an authorized contract. So yeah, ratification extinguishes the action to annul an authorized contract. That is according to this article. So, a previously voidable contract is now cleansed of its defects that made it a voidable contract. So now it is a legal, approved by the court contract due to the ratification. So in this article, an example would be, let's say A. He invests in his friend's business for 1 million pesos. But when he found out that the business he was investing in was an illegal business, like they were selling illegal drugs, he was not able to get his money back. So what A can do in this situation is he can sue his friend B so that he can recover his money back. An example of this article would be, let's say A. Since A is a minor and he entered into an illegal contract without any guardian's supervision, so the court may allow him to recover his money or property that he lost if the interest of justice so demands. An example of this article would be, let's say, A. A, he sold all of his belongings, all of his assets to B. So now A is left with nothing. So since public policy has been enhanced in this situation, what A can do is he can recover all of his belongings back. So this article actually aims to prevent profiteering, which is very hostile to the interest of people, which is why the excess payment must be recoverable. So, example, the government has implemented a fixed maximum price for meat. And that fixed maximum price for meat should be 150 pesos per kilo. If a buyer has paid 250 for a kilo of meat, according to the law, you can recover the excess 100 peso per kilo because it is illegal. So this article is quite simple. Employees are entitled to additional service compensation if they exceed 8 hours of work, according to the 8-hour labor law. So those are 25 articles from the law on contracts. Thank you for watching, sir, and Merry Christmas.